You can buy them for about $80 each standalone item, or it's about $199 for a bundle of them. And the bundle is Gigapixel, Sharpen, and Denoise. So you go ahead, you download it to your machine, and it will. Now this is the bit that I get mid. So it downloads in applications. It will be in your applications. It'll be here under your Topaz Labs there. Under your Topaz Labs, and that will be there. Now you need to open them, and now you need to take a copy of that one. I'm just not sure whether I get this one right or not, because it's been a while since I do it. But you've got to copy that, so you denoise, and then you've got to go back to your Photoshop or your Lightroom and place it in the plugins folder. Okay, so plugins, the Topaz suite are plugins. So Photoshop has a folder called plugins. They're all extra toys to play with, and when you put it in this folder, then Photoshop knows where to find it. There are further instructions to that. I know I'm taking the short length of that, but it's easy enough to find instructions online to setting it up and adding them in, instruction by instruction as well as to how to do them. So I'm glossing over that bit fairly fast, but you just need to remember that you need to put the plugin in the folder where Photoshop can find it, and Photoshop has special folders for that. So if I click out of that, and then I'll go into my Lightroom, my Lightroom, and I think I'm going to use, so this is a photo. Some of the bats are quite good because they've got a lot of noise on them. And you can see that I got the speed right on them. You can see on the credentials up the top that I'm flying at 2500th of a second, but I've got an ISO of 4000, and probably because I've shot it at 10 to 7 at night, because bats fly at dusk. So I'm a bit limited really by the ISO. So that is going to create a problem for making noise. So if I liked that photo, then I'm going to try and rescue it. Bit too big, so I'll just bring it in a little bit. Zoom up again. Okay, and that's somewhere where I want him. So now I should be from within my Lightroom. So my Denoise, my Topaz suites are linked into my Lightroom and my Photoshop. So if I go up to Photo, Edit in, and then you'll see that it comes up as well as with Photoshop. It'll come up with these three as well. So Denoise is the first one that you would use in the series if you were going to use all three of them together. I simply got to click onto that. Yes, I want to edit it with adjustments, and then I'll wait for Denoise to open, which is doing down on the left. Okay. Okay, and it's over here.
Wow.
So I'm just going to zoom it out a little bit. Now, it's pretty intuitive, which is what I like about these Topaz suites. They're pretty intuitive to use. It will start on, it's here on the right, you can see the choices of denoising that you want. Do you want it standard? Do you want it clear? Is it low light? Is it severe noise? This afternoon I was playing with severe noise, so you can see this option has come up. I've got a side-by-side view. The one on the left is the original, one on the left is the updated one. It looks pretty good, but of course you can do too much noise, and then of course, you give yourself a problem. There's a comparison view here, and this will give you all four options to choose from, which I usually like to use. You can see that severe noise is updated, clear is updated, low light is now updated. And you can see, if you're looking closely at them, that they're all slightly different. Anytime I move the screen, or if I move the viewfinder around on the top right-hand corner here, the program needs to update again. So I actually like the severe noise as well. Let's have a look at low light. Low light gives me a bit more detail left in him without getting rid of all of the grain. Severe noise has smoothed it all out. Now I can also You can also use the sliders. So this severe noise with the blue box, it's the one that I'm using at the moment, matches the one on the top right here. I can also alter each one within as well. I think he's pretty nice, hey, severe noise. I can click on auto to auto update them, automatically detects the settings a little bit. So I think we're going to go with severe noise for the moment. We'll see what it looks like. If I zoom out, see what the whole picture looks like.
Robin, could you go to the clear one and see what the settings are, please?
Sure. Let's go to clear. It's updating at the moment.
Right.
Oh, there you go. You can see the settings on the right.
Yeah.
Because I've got the clear box highlighted.
Yeah.
So it's got removing noise high, enhanced sharpness low, and it hasn't got any recovery original detail. Oh, there you go. So about 41 for noise, 43 for sharpness.
Can you try cranking up the noise for us, please?
Cranking up the noise, getting rid of the noise.
Remove noise.
Removing the noise on the clear setting.
Yeah. I don't know.
You want that on the clear setting? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to click on that box there.
It's high now. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. So for the purposes of this one, I think I'm going to go with the severe noise. Okay. So when I've chosen that one, which just is the one with the blue box, I just click apply down the bottom. Now there is the option to mask in or out noise, but I won't do that one here. I'll do that in the Sharpen panel. So I just need to click apply, and it's going to process the choice that I made. And it pops it straight back into Lightroom for me. And it pops it as a second picture, comes up as a TIFF with an edit next to it so that you know that's the file. So this was that was my original raw file. And that's the one that's been processed with Denoise. So you can see it's very good it's great for rescuing pictures. So I then decide maybe that I want to sharpen it a little bit because there are a little bit of areas that are flat. So I'm just going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to go up to, I can stop there, and I could use some clarity or texture sliders on there if I wanted to. But if I wanted to do some selective sharpening, I'll go up again to photo, edit in, and Topaz Sharpen, edit with the Lightroom adjustments. Now it's the one that I've edited, not the original one. And Sharpen will open.
What does Sharpen actually do?
It creates areas of greater contrast where edges are from one area to the next. So the Sharpen panel opens, and there's the original on the top left. Motion blur I don't really have motion blur on this picture. I've got softness, if anything. Motion blur, out of focus, too soft. So I'm guessing that it's my best. The one that I like best will probably come up under the too soft banner. What date is this? One's a bit slow. This is a heavier program, this Sharpen, so it tends to go a bit slower. I think I'd actually go for them. Let's go for out of focus. So I'll just click on that one as my choice. So it's got out of focus, normal. I could make those option changes there, but I'm not going to fiddle with those settings there. Now I can mask this. I click on down the bottom here, I can chuck it out or I can mask it. So I've clicked the out of focus, I click on here, I can mask in. So if I don't want the background sharpened, which I don't really want the background sharpened because I want to define him from the background, I've got a little brush here that I can use just to brush in various bits of sharpening. So this is my brush down here. I can make a big fat brush, or I could make just a small brush, and that allows me just to get into the spots where he is. Make that brush a little bit bigger. There we go. Just for the sake of this, just brush it in. I could be a lot more precise with it and spend a lot more time on it, but I'm not going to. Same with the opacity and softness. If I got a softer brush, that will give me a wider edge on the brush, but I've got, seeing as I've got a hard edged animal, I don't really want a soft brush. I'll just run down there. Okay, so you get the idea, and you could spend quite a while doing this. Okay. And then I'm going to apply the mask. Oh, if I don't like what I've done, I can, there's a subtract and add box down the bottom there, okay? To take out, if I go over the edge, I just subtract. Apply the mask. And he's updated, okay. So I've applied that to those bits of him. Oh, this one, but to him, and now I'm just going to apply the setting to the entire picture. And you can see the processing line across the top. So there it is. So it's back in. Right, there's my original. If I press F on my keyboard, that allows Lightroom to fill the whole screen. So there's the original raw. There's the Denoise raw. And that should be the Sharpen. Nope. So there's not a lot of change there, is there, between that? But even so, that's quite nice. And I could now, if I wanted to utilize that photo, I could now get a nicer crop out of it, crop a lot stronger and have a decent photo in there as well. So that's Topaz Denoise and Sharpen as well. Pretty happy with that because his little eye is nice and sharp as well. If I had another picture that, here's another picture of the bats. That is, what's that? Oh, there you go. Okay, so we'll use that one. So there's another picture of the bats that I had a crop in quite a bit. And you can see there's quite a bit of noise there. And the light's quite low. So I want to, okay, if I reset, here we go. I only want a tiny portion of the picture, but the rest of it's rubbish, doesn't add to the picture at all. I like the light coming through the bats. I think that's where I want to make my picture. So that's the bit that I want. So when I've cropped it in, I've got less pixels than I started with. Everything. So if I think the picture's still redeemable, so I'm going to go up to, again, photo. So there's a bit of debate about where you use Topaz Gigapixel. Do you use it at the beginning, or do you do all your adjustments and your editing and then do it at the end? I've read two different articles. Topaz says do it at the end. Topaz actually says, look, you could do it at the beginning, but you could also do it at the end. So they sit on the fence as to what they actually think as well. So same thing, we're going to go up to the top, look down for Gigapixel, edit with the adjustments. There's hardly any adjustments. What this software does is it looks at everything around it and it adds in extra pixels correct to the closest pixels around it. So side by side view. Process is quite fast. Now you can see here this box on the right that I can increase it by 0.5 or 2 times, which is my choice, which gives me a few more pixels, or I could increase it by 4 times. Well, I increase it by 4 times. Ugh. Let's cancel that. Let it process. Okay. Now, it's a bit hard to see on this model, but it's actually pretty much doubled the amount of pixels in the picture. I don't tend to touch these other bits. I tend to just let it do and look at how many pixels there are. So it's now 96 by 59 pixels, 59,000 pixels. It came in at 48 times 29. 2 times it's now 96 by 59,000. And I'll just apply that. Simple as that. Let it do its thing again, hopefully faster than the Sharpen panel. Okay, so you can see up here the numbers on the top up here that the file size has changed. And that gives me, what that does, it gives me a lot more data to work with. So that's Topaz Gigapixel. So those are the Topaz suites. If you've got any questions in chat, speak now.
Robin, I've got a question.
Yeah.
If with this particular image, would you start with Gigapixel and then go on to noise and sharpening, or the other way around?
I think I'd just put Gigapixel at I've been doing it at the end. So I'd probably start with noise and then very little bit of sharpening and then Gigapixel at the end, I think. It's the way I've been doing with the other programs, the on-one programs. We had been sizing them up at the end. Just I was surprised to read that Topaz said that you could do it either way. And then I think they double checked themselves because they said, well, you could do it at the beginning, but then you've got more adjustments and more editing to do.
So Robin, can I ask, is your preference to do this in Lightroom as opposed to Photoshop?
I like Lightroom.
Right.
I find it easier to jump backwards and forwards. You can do it in Photoshop, but at the moment, I'm having a bit of a return love affair with Lightroom. Lightroom fell out of favor with me for a while, but I find it's just very easy for basic editing.
Sure.
So I find it very easy to bounce backwards and forwards with the Topaz suites in here.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Let me throw my 2 bits in for you, Roger, on when to. It depends on the purpose that you want to enlarge the picture. All right. So most of the times when you're going to want to run AI Gigapixel is for printing. All right. So if you're doing just digital, even if it's a digital for competition at Camera Club or posting online, there's not the need to do the AI Gigapixel, and Photoshop will actually do something similar but not as well, and it probably does enough for the online digital stuff. But if you think about it, what AI, what any of the artificial intelligent enlarging programs do is that they take if you've got say 100 pixels in your image and you want to make it 4 times the size, so you want 400 pixels in your image. What it does is it takes the original 100, spreads the original 100 out, and then uses AI to make up pixels to fill in the gaps to give you the size that you need. Because the whole thing's based on you need a dot to do for a drop of ink. Therefore, to get the thing at 300 dpi, you've got to increase the number of dots. So, hence the need for the increase of the number of pixels. So, if you think about if you're wanting to produce a large work, metre by a metre, then you would probably do the Gigapixel first, because when you're doing the editing, instead of the editing just being on the original 100 pixels, they're going to be spread apart, which means your edit is then over the 400 pixels, not just 100. All right, so you will get a cleaner, sharper image by doing the enlarging first and then doing the work on it afterwards, because you've got all the pixels that you'll be working on.
Okay, so just to finish off Denoise, I just got a range of pictures and things. So with Sharpen, I was saying about Sharpen, moving your pictures to a nicer quality. This is a great picture. I've got really good focus here. I like the sharpening in it already, but just from straight out of the camera. But if I used the Sharpen on this, it would very judiciously would just lift it to another level entirely. So this is the type of picture that sharpening is great for. And this one of the little eagles, you can see there's still quite early morning light here. And this is where your denoise and your sharpen would work, would come up, would bring this picture up beautifully as well. The darker ones like that, you're doing a lot of rescuing. I mean, you can rescue them, but they won't come up as well as things that are ordinarily taken much better in camera to start off with. So that's Topaz Suites. So now we're going to move on to my other favorite plugin. It's called Flood 2. And it's made by a company called Flaming Pear software here. And they make a whole lot of plugins for Photoshop. So they've got a few of them. The only one I use is Flood 2. So you can download a free trial up here on the top right. Same thing, get a trial, or you can go and buy it. It's not very expensive. I can't remember, I paid for it about 3 years ago, but you just download for that again, and then you put it in the folder where Photoshop will find it for you. And it's one of my favorite pieces of software. Close that down again. So here's my photo of lovely clouds, storm coming in, Sydney storm coming in. Love the clouds. The water is a bit boring here. And I want to zhoosh it up a little bit. So this is a program, Flood is a program that you use attached to Photoshop. So I'll send the photo to Photoshop. Still not going to, I can't be bothered to straighten the buildings. Okay, so up again, I go up to filter. So there is a choice called plugins, but it's not under the plugins folder. It's where you'll find Pixelsquid under the plugins that Tim's going to talk about. It's a filter. So down here, I've got some Topaz Labs and I've got Flaming Pear added. So flaming, because it's a flaming pear. So I click on flood, and it takes me to, opens up the panel here. Now, the flood, it's going to flood it with water, really, which is why the program's called Flood. And I get to choose where I want the horizon on. So this is my picture here. This is the horizon up here, and I just want to drop the horizon to the bottom of the Sydney skyline. Don't do that. You can see on the little picture here that as I move the horizon down, it's coming into focus, it's gone too far down. I'll use the magnify bottom down the bottom. See if I can line that up there. Okay. I'm almost on the water there. Okay, I'll go back there. So it's put quite a simple water in perspective. So there's a whole lot of choices here that will change the type of water that it puts in for you. Altitude is to do with the reflections coming in, and altitude and perspective are to do with the reflections coming in. Spin will put the horizon on an angle. So you don't actually have to have it horizontal. You can have it on an angle if that suits your picture. You can make the water wavy or complex. I like simple water. Make it a bit complex. It's changed. No, I don't know. See, I didn't want it wavy in the first place. I want it nice and smooth. The smoother I make it, the more reflection I'm going to get out of it. I might want a little bit of waviness in there. And I can put a ripple in there too. The ripple comes in, if I click on the picture, there's a dot, and the dot is the ripple. And if I wanted to put a little ripple in the water, you can see that when I move the crossbar, there's a ripple that goes in the water, and I can make a smaller ripple. Okay. With lots of undulations. There we go. Oh, that looks nice. Okay. So I'll leave that ripple in. If I want to take that out, if I want to get rid of that one, I could just click it out there, but I'll click it back in there. If I click the crossbar into the sky, we'll get rid of the ripple, but I want to leave the ripple in. I've also got a color picker here. Works much the same as the Photoshop color picker. If I've got something in the photo that I would like to bring in, I will get the little dropper tool. Not much in there for color, is there really? One. Okay, I'll pop that in there. Close that. This is just a memory tool. It allows you to save settings and duplicate them elsewhere. This is almost like, you know, it's like a blending choices. I never choose anything else except normal. So you can make it, you can just keep it quite simple, be quite happy. Click OK, and it will process it. Look at that. Instant pretty. Pretty easy. So if I pull the picture in, you can see it's pretty good, really, in terms of the horizon, matching the horizon. Oh, a bit dodgy around there. Yeah, but see where the horizon of the Opera House is a bit of water there, so it hasn't quite matched. So that's where it takes a little bit of effort to get your horizon straight there. Anyway, so that's one simple, tricky way of beautifying your boring grey harbour view into something much more attractive. So you can also mask in. I won't save that one. If I go to this picture of Venice here that I took hanging out a hotel window a couple of COVID years away, I'm going to edit this one in Photoshop as well. I put that one in Photoshop. It's pretty enough water. I'll duplicate that. And then I'm going to filter that into up-down filter into flood 2 as well. And you can see my horizon is wrong. So I need to, now for this picture, my horizon is under the Rialto Bridge, I think, isn't it? Needs to come up to where the bridge turns the corner, the water turns the corner under the bridge. A little bit more. There we go. There. Move that out a little bit more. It's a bit of complex. Oh, look at that. Don't like that color. Now I've got a few more colors here. So if I color picked that. Where's my pretty pink color? That'll do. There we go. That'll do for it. Okay. I can increase. There's a ripple. Put a ripple in down there. Ripples in there, and a bit of brilliance in there as well. This glitter and brilliance you can is a directional light that you can pop in as well if you want to put that in. I don't tend to always put that in, so just okay that one. So although I think my picture of the Grand Canal is quite nice anyway, I just, you know, look at that, it's beautiful, but it's put the horizon right across everything. So I need to adjust that. So because I put the horizon right at the furthest end, I just need to bring, so I'll just put a mask on, turn the mask to black, and then Control plus, and what sort of brush have I got? I've got a soft edge brush. I can alternate between a soft edge brush and a hard edge brush according to what I wanted to do. And literally a bit like the motion blur tool in Photoshop, you can brush in where you want it. It's good for covering up all sorts of mess. You would spend a fair bit of time more than what I'm doing now.
Or you could create a luminosity mask.
And yep.
Nice to get his plugs in.
I know, can't help himself. Anyway, so just brush around the edges where you needed it. Leave the little boat in. Okay. Change between a sharp edge brush, a soft edge brush according to where you wanted it. There we go. And then brush the rest of it in. You can change the opacity of it as well if you wanted to, but I wanted to leave it at 100% opacity. And look at that. And there is the Grand Canal looking more beautiful than you've ever seen it in your life. Okay. So if I just save that, I think if I just save that. Okay, so that's flood. And that's a really fun one to use. You can use it on all sorts anything you think of, really. I can actually today, if anybody saw my picture of the bat today that I put up with the beautiful reflection, it was actually a flood reflection. So I think it was one of those I put up, and I just flooded the bat, and I took out all of the ripples and undulations, or kept them very low, and it just put an almost perfect mirror image of the bat in as well.
Yep.
So if we go to our website, wanderlust.sydney, because you can have a little play with this later. And if you go to gallery, there's a lovely handsome couple on the front. If you go to gallery, we're gradually populating that with a few things, and some of you would have seen it, but this little gallery here is Star Wars Lockdown. So if we click on it, it'll display some images, and there's probably about 15 of them. And to keep myself entertained during lockdown, and to keep a few other people entertained, because I sort of set myself a challenge of doing one of these a day, and Kevin used to hassle me and say, well, when's the next one coming? So I had to keep on feeding him Star Wars pictures. But these images here are all put together using Pixelsquid. So the images all import a library symbol, but the library symbol is actually three-dimensional, and you can spin it around, get it in the right angle, the right geometry for your image before you finally do the importing. All right, so you can have a look at those at your leisure if you want to go and have a look at those, but I thought we might do a quick one just to show you how you put those images on the page. All right, so if we use this one from this morning, so talking to me. Oh, there we go. We'll admit Tricia Finlay. I think she's an hour late. Must be daylight saving. All right, so Pixelsquid, similar sort of thing as a plugin. You've got to go to Pixelsquid itself. So I probably should have shown you that while we were there. So Pixelsquid is by subscription, and it's got quite a vast where's Pixelsquid itself? We want just Pixelsquid. Oh, that looks more like it. So Pixelsquid here, this is their splash page, and they have all sorts of stuff. All right. So if you just looking at categories, you've got if you want anything architectural, these are the sorts of things that you can download, and every one of those is actually a three-dimensional model which you can turn and rotate and play with, and then import it into your image. So, for instance, what have we got here? Nature. All right. So if you need a rhino in your picture, or if you need a shark in your picture, or you haven't got the right shot of the giraffe or the wasp, then you can actually import any of these things as a three-dimensional element.
Search function.
Yep, there's a little search function. All right. So say so in its function. So here in this little pink area is where Pixelsquid ends up as a plugin when you load it into Photoshop. So if I click on this, then it saves the images. So if you go by subscription, Lightboxes is how it distributes the information. So here I can choose any of those ones that I was interested in Lightboxes. So this actually talks to the Pixelsquid server and downloads the images and interacts. Or you can buy individual images. So rather than a subscription, which I think it's probably a couple $100 a year, I think, isn't it? $250 a year. You can actually buy the images, and then they charge you per image, but they get pretty heavy-handed, so they might charge you $10 or $15 for a three-dimensional image. So let's go for a dragon. What do you reckon about a dragon at down at middle head there. So we can choose the dragon that we're after. So let's choose a dragon. So what it does is I click on my little dragon, and there's my little dragon. It's put him on the page, and that's the starting point. So I can choose here at the moment whether he's high resolution, low resolution. So we'll go high resolution. I can have the shadows on or off. So if I turn the shadows off, there we go. It should turn the shadows off. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. There we go, shadows are gone. But I think, seeing it's that time of the day, we need some shadows. And so at this stage, it just puts it on the page, and then you can control the size and then play with it. So if you do the normal thing for changing images, if we go Control T for transform, I can then give myself a bigger dragon. All right, so if that's about the size I want him. And then if I come back to my square here, and if I click on the square and hold it, I can actually spin my dragon around. And then what will happen in a minute is that it'll go back and talk to the server, and then it'll spin my dragon around. All right, so I've got the ability to move my dragon now, so I can go Control T again, and I can go and put my dragon, maybe he's standing at the edge here, or maybe I need him sort of sitting on the horizon or doing whatever I want with my dragon. Or if I wanted to, if I wanted to have him flying sort of overhead or something, I could put him maybe something like that. Pixelsquid catch up. Control T, maybe he's a bit big for flying, so maybe we move him back here and he's having a little bit of a jet spin here, or I just adjust the angle. So I can play around with the image, and I get him to about the right location. Still probably not quite in the right spot. Let's move him over here. There you go. Coming through the heads, screaming across there. All right. So then I can then click the button Embed Smart Object. So what it will then do is it'll put, it then saves that off as a two-dimensional file with all the layers in it, and then puts it in as a file which you'll see in Photoshop. So you can see here on the right-hand side that I've now got my dragon. All right. And I can do everything that I want to do to my dragon that I do to any other library symbol. So if I come across here for a brightness and contrast adjustment layer, and I clip that to my dragon, then I can brighten my dragon up, get him to the right place, sort of blending him in with the picture. I can come down here with a photo filter. I can change his colour. I can gold him, and I can make him a little bit golder for the morning light. All right, so I can change how he sits. All right, so I can muck around with him however I might choose. All right, so any of these things that are in here, as I say, are three-dimensional symbols, and you can have a lot of fun. So the Star Wars ones, you can, there's 6 pages worth of Star Wars stuff. So if you're a Star Wars fan, we can, let's go and get ourselves a little stormtrooper. All right. Control T, enlarge him up a little bit, have him sitting there guarding the pool at Balmoral. All right, make him high resolution. And there we go. We've got ourselves a stormtrooper at the pool. All right. So lots of fun. You've then got to do some little tricks with. So let's embed him as a smart object. And if you've ever wondered about how you get a shadow, I'll quickly show you how you do a shadow. So we'll just embed him there. I can't say I'm a fan of the dragon, but we'll leave the dragon there. So this is our stormtrooper up here. He's now a two-dimensional object. So if I go Control J and make a copy of him, then I go Control T, what I can do if I hold Control at the same time So I can drag my stormtrooper down and create myself a shadow depending on where the light's coming from. This is just roughly. Then what I would do to that layer is I would, all right, and then I can change the opacity of that shadow a bit. Jump it in and out. All right, so that's just a quick sort of cheats way of making a shadow. I could then change the just the intensity of the grey on that and play around with that. So that's a kind of the things you got to do to then sell the picture for the shadowing. But that's so it's a fun little program because there's lots of stuff in there, and as I say, it's more for illustrative type of work. So you can see. So I'm not sure if you saw the one that we did this morning, but this was the one that I did from this morning's sunrise, where I've put a couple of little gnome guys around the pool this morning, and that was the sunrise, wasn't it, Rosie? And this was titled "Off to Work We Go." So anyway, having a little bit of fun. So that's Pixelsquid. We're having quite a bit of fun with young grandchildren because Rob does a lot of compositing. She made up our eldest grandson is 2 at the moment. He's just discovered rockets, all right, space rockets. So he wants to be an astronaut at the moment. So Rob put together a little picture of. She found a space rocket and had the picture of Harley, and Harley's now in the space rocket, and he's got the picture of himself in the space rocket, which he thinks is pretty cool. So if you're a grandparent, Pixelsquid's fantastic because you can put your grandchildren into all sorts of make-believe environments, with animals and all sorts of baggage carrying on. So lots of fun just for especially during lockdown, where you can just let your creative mind go wild and essentially illustrate some stories and things. So lots of fun. An extra little bow for your creativity.
Just coming back to when you can and can't use something like Flood, if it's an open competition.
Open is open slather.
Yeah.
Open is open slather. The camera club. For other competitions, for commercial competitions, it's a whole different story. You have to own every photographic element in there. But if it's open for camera club, I think, and you just have to check on your rules. But open is pretty much open slather. But
So in the commercial ones you're talking about, if you use Flood, even though it's all your own image, then it's not permitted?
Well, I think it's, let me think.
It's not photographic.
It's not photographic in origin. It's more
let me-
graphic. I'd say it's graphic in origin. It's not photographic in origin.
I'll just show Brian something. If you mute, and I'll share a screen.
Sure. How?
I'll just show you how you can do something similar in Photoshop without using Flood. All right.
Okay.
All right. So there's my background layer. I do a Control-J to copy it. If you use the square marquee tool and you grab an area, say there, which lines up with the horizon, and if I right-click and I go layer via copy, you can see that it's copied the sky into its layer. If I go Control-T, it gives me my 6 points, or my 8 points or whatever. If I grab Shift and grab the top one, I can do that. All right. And then, now that I've done that, I can put a mask on it, a white mask. I go to a black background, and I can actually brush it out in the foreground, for instance, to make it look a little bit more convincing. All right, so you can achieve something similar in Photoshop if you're going to compete it without needing to go to Flood. All right. So there we go. We've done our own version of Flood, but I've used Photoshop.
Now, Still not hearing.
I'm not allowed to say anything.
Robin's wanted that ability
If
for
you've-
years.
If you've ever seen those images where they create like a crease through the image and the water then turns the corner and falls down on as a waterfall, that's done in flood. All right, because you can put the horizon at an angle and fold the image at an angle. All right. So next week we thought we would do a drone session. So we'll take you through, have a look at what we do, what drones we use, how we use them, how we compose, and then how you also edit an image. You know, because it's quite, you know, looking at things in an abstract way takes a little bit of getting used to. So we thought people might be interested in that, and we can show you some of those images that we took down over the Salt Lakes not so long ago. So I think Jane was there, and TC is going to be very envious when he sees them, because he'll want to come next time we go down, I think. And I think there'll be all sorts of people queuing up and buying drones.